Rule the day the plant-based way with the new vegan mixed berry from Smoothie King. Powered by whole, non-GMO fruits, oat milk, and vegan protein, it's a dairy-free, plant-based smoothie you can feel great about. With 13 grams of protein and half your daily fiber, it's an easy way to get the essential nutrients your body craves. Skip the line and order online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King. Rule the day. Rule the day the plant-based way with the new vegan mixed berry from Smoothie King. Powered by whole, non-GMO fruits, oat milk, and vegan protein, it's a dairy-free, plant-based smoothie you can feel great about. With 13 grams of protein and half your daily fiber, it's an easy way to get the essential nutrients your body craves. Skip the line and order online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King. Rule the day.
Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are discussing the second book in our latest fantasy read-along, The Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Hey everyone, I am your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. Talk about the series with us there, as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion. As always, you can find the three of us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. We get even more candid with what we have to say. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a roundtable book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. Welcome back to another 3Blogger 1 Series read-along discussion, and today we are talking about the second book in our read-along, Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. Joining me are my 3Blogger 1 Series read-along co-hosts, Casey and Nicola. Welcome back, ladies.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, glad to see you again, or hear you, whichever medium you're listening on. Also, at the end of this episode, we are going to share our ratings as we always do. So don't forget that. Check it out at the end. And of course, you can see us on Patreon. So before we get going, Nicola, please run down the book stats.
Sure thing. This is a long book. We're talking about the second book in Laini Taylor's trilogy. The title is Days of Blood and Starlight. It's 516 pages. It's published by Little Brown Books for Young Readers and sold by Hachette. The audiobook is 15 hours and 21 minutes long. It's unabridged and narrated by Christine Havam. And I'm not sure if that's how you say her name, so sorry if that's wrong. And it does have Whisper Sync if you want to do that with your Kindle version.
Which is an awesome way to read and listen, by the way. Casey, why don't you go ahead and hit us up with the synopsis?
Hey. Once upon a time, an angel and a devil fell in love and dared to imagine a world free of bloodshed and war. This is not that world. Art student and monster's apprentice, Carew finally has the answer she's always sought. She knows who she is and what she is. But with this knowledge comes another truth she would give anything to undo. She loved the enemy and he betrayed her, and the world suffered for it. In the stunning sequel to the highly acclaimed Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Carew must decide how far she'll go to avenge her people. Filled with heartbreak and beauty, secrets and impossible choices, Days of Blood and Starlight finds Carew and Akiva on opposing sides of an age-old war, as an age-old war stirs back to life. While Carew and her allies build a monstrous army in a land of dust and starlight, Akiva wages a different sort of battle. a battle for redemption, for hope. But can any hope be salvaged from the ashes of their broken dream?
Aw.
Read and find out.
Yeah. Of course, spoiler alert, if you guys are new, if someone's new here by chance, spoiler alert, we talk all things about the book as this is a book discussion. So don't be like, oh my God, you said something. I don't care. We warned you. Okay. So, oh my gosh, where should we start? I mean, this book had a lot going on. So at the end of the last book, obviously, Akiva and Karoo are not friends anymore.
Well, they were happy right up until like
the very end. When she remembered herself and everything. And then he admitted what he did. Which
killed everybody she knew and loved.
Yes.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, which is a lot.
I mean, like genocide level stuff.
And I understand her gut reaction to never want to speak to him again. I get it. Pretty much this whole book was us seeing like two stories, basically. And then I guess we can talk about what's going on with Karoo and what's going on with Akiva. And I guess eventually how those two come back together.
There was a line where she was explaining it to Zuzana that seemed like a pretty good summary. Do you guys remember that?
Oh,
do you remember Romeo and Juliet? And she said, when Juliet wakes up and she finds out that Romeo is dead, and Zuzana's like, oh, it's so romantic. And she's like, yeah, well, imagine you wake up and he's killed your entire family and everybody you ever knew and loved. And she's like, so,
like, oh, damn. Yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah. So I thought that was a pretty succinct way to put it.
Yeah, but also it's like almost at the end of the book, I think Issa was kind of asking her, well, what would have you done?
Yeah.
In reverse. And knowing her, like maybe not, she might not have done that as her old self, but as her new self, she's very...
even her old self.
She was a soldier.
She was a soldier. She was trained for that.
Right.
And though they kind of protected her because she was supposed to end up with Iago or whatever, like she would have been bloodthirsty and vicious.
And want to just kill everyone that killed the person you cared about after torturing you and making you watch. So it's like, yeah, he did something awful, but it's murky. It's gray, right?
There's context.
Right. Yeah. There's context. Like that doesn't make it okay what he did, but it makes you wonder, well, can he be forgiven? Can he be redeemed? You know?
Yeah. Wouldn't everybody else do that in his position? And he waited 18 years for this retribution.
I think Issa had a good line in there that was about, it was always coming, right? Whether it took 18 years or 100 years, like that was always going to be the outcome, whether it was done all at once or not. But the Chimera have been losing this war for a long time, right? Even though the angels are, losing ground, they're losing people, their forces are shrinking, they still seem to be winning the war.
Well, I mean, the angels seem more powerful, and before Karoo came along and was able to help start rebuilding them with wings and other things that they were able to use to defeat them, like the Chimera couldn't fly.
Chimera never could.
Well, it was rare though.
A few of them could.
She could, but a lot of them couldn't. And so that was part of the reason why, Thiago was having her build them the way she was, because a lot of them did not have that ability. And I guess that aerial attack coming out of nowhere, that could, you have to be on even footing. And that is what helped them. And I get why they were building them the way they were.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They needed to even the odds. They needed to build a stronger monster army.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of Thiago's arc through this book? Like at the beginning, did you believe his sort of niceness? I mean, you guys have read this
hell
before,
no.
so
No, I didn't know because he
no.
killed her. And it's like, even if he was acting nice, I'm like, why are you being nice to him? He fucking killed you and was happy to do it. So
yeah. And he was the main one that tortured Akiva too.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a line
Violently
where he
and
said,
viciously.
there was a line where he said something about, well, you know, can you blame me because I was in love with you? And I was like, I wanted her to say, you were not in love with me. You know, that was a power trip. That was a desire to possess. That was not love.
Mhm.
And even if it was, in his opinion, he's still psycho. Because when normal people are in love and their feelings get hurt, they go have a drink and cry to their friends or whatever. They write nasty letters, leave a nasty voicemail. They don't kill you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I like how she became aware of how bad he, you know, like at first I think she was kind of willing to go along with his I don't know what the
Nice
word is.
person act. Nice guy act.
Yeah, the nice guy act. That he's protecting her. That he cares about her. You know, and then, you know, I thought it had some parallels to, you know, a domestic violence or an abused woman situation where, you know, you become more and more you realize more and more that he's separating you from everyone else. He's telling you different things than he's telling everyone else. And I thought that was interesting. And I liked how gradual it was, I guess. It wasn't kind of an all at once, she figures all this out. She was just kind of, she would get suspicious and, you know, she'd hear things and she'd look at the way people were looking at her. And I really liked how that developed.
Well, she really didn't get there on her own. Only after her friend, who was her friend when she was of her tribe, he came back and Siri. He said, you know, well, actually,
right. She was suspicious by then, though.
Yeah,
she was, but this carried even beyond that, though. She felt that as long as Thiago needs me, he won't actually do anything to me. And she carried that, even though she kind of felt, you can't really trust him. But as long as I'm doing this and Ten doesn't know how to do it,
right?
Just me, I'm safe to a certain extent, which was also not accurate, unfortunately.
Yep.
Well, yeah, there's safety and there's being alive and there's being safe, right?
Yeah, totally. And those are two different things, which, you know, she thought at that point, at least she only had to worry about, early on, she thought she had to worry about everybody because everyone, quote unquote, hated her. Right. Everyone didn't want to speak to her. Yeah. But then when she found out, they were told not to speak to me. Well, maybe I just have to worry about his people.
Yeah. There was that sort of developing split in the camp.
He is the worst. And, you know, he's the kind of character where there's nothing likable or redeemable about him at all. The entire book. So that doesn't change to me. And then one thing, I mean, we're talking spoilers. At one part when, you know, after he attacked Karoo and then he comes into the room, I remember the first time I read it, I'm like, she saved him?
I know. I was so
and then
shocked.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That was an awesome twist. I love that.
It really was. And it's going to obviously have a bigger part in the third book.
Oh, absolutely.
So
actually, it was pretty damn smart, actually. And she didn't think of it.
Yeah. And she did 10 as well. Which I didn't get till near the end. Yeah.
And her another old friend that she pulled her thurible and was like, hey, this is what's going on. I need you on board or I got to put you back. And she's like, I've always wanted to be terrible. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do this. Like, what?
Why do you think that Thiago didn't make her give him a body with wings?
I think he was too vain. I think he just liked
Yeah.
his body the way it was. He wanted to look how he wanted to look. And he was just
Because in the
vain.
first book, they talked about how he would have multiple bodies like already made and ready before he went out to war, and he would inspect them with brimstone. So he has a very
specific
look that he wants to keep.
He's spoiled.
I also don't think he would trust anybody to bring him back.
That's what I was thinking, is that he didn't trust her to bring him back, and that's why he wasn't going out and putting himself in danger. And
yeah, and he didn't have any more bodies, so
he wanted a very
And
well, I mean, she was making bodies, right? So
I mean, it was twofold. He wanted to watch her because he was ordering her to bring back who he wanted. So he wanted to make sure she was doing what she was supposed to do. And then, of course, Anne not wanting to die because I would not bring him back either if he died.
Hell no.
You'd have to kill me first before I bring him back. And then that means no one else is coming back either. No, because I mean, like,
I just stop and think about that.
Yeah.
Right. Just like, think about it. Like, if he got, 10 had his back, right? So if he died, 10 would try to force her. I'd be like, you know what? You can kill me. It's not happening.
And
so
then you're all fucked.
Yeah, and then everyone's screwed. So
do we let the White Wolf evanesce? Do you think he's gone?
Oh, he's gone. There was no Thurible to grab his soul. So he's peace out. He's gone.
There were a couple inconsistencies with that, especially from the first book to this book. Back in book 1, it made it seem like she had to gather the souls like within minutes of death. Because you remember when she first meets Akiva, she's out on the beach gathering souls, and it felt like she had to do it like within minutes of death. And then here in the second book, Ziri waited hours.
Almost a day.
Like almost a full day before he collected his troop after they were burned and killed, and then it was all a trap anyway. But
yeah. I don't know. I guess it was long enough ago that I didn't notice it. I didn't remember that it had to be that soon. I knew that there's a time limit.
Yeah. I know there's a time limit. It may be because they are of that kind, they hold on longer. So like if you knew already before you died that someone might grab your soul, wouldn't you fight harder to hang on close to your body than like someone who didn't know, like an angel who wouldn't assume that and would just go?
True. Yeah.
Kind of like when she was killed, right? That was a one-off, right? That never happened again so far.
So far that we know about.
Well, because Issa was a surprise. Like she had no clue that he had saved Issa and the other one. He saved her, but she didn't find her Thurible yet.
Right.
Yet.
That's the one that's in the grove.
Yeah, with everybody else.
In the temple. No, everybody else is in the cathedral.
Oh, okay.
Under where she first found Eretz when she went through the door.
Back at the beginning of book 1.
Yeah, she went through the workshop door and saw Thiago, and so I think the rest there's I don't know, several thousand souls down in that cathedral basement, but not Brimstone and not Thalaxa. I can't remember her name, but the other helper from the workshop,
right? But so she still has to find her. But I don't know. It's possible. Do you think we should count it out? And maybe he hasn't been saved. Maybe he didn't save himself. He's gone. Do you think he's gone, Nicola?
Well, you guys have read it before, so I've been assuming that he's gone. But if he was able to come back in that way that he had Carew come back and sort of park in somebody else's body for a little while, that would be consistent with the story building, with the world building so far. So I could see that maybe happening, but for the moment, I'm assuming that he's gone. Which
is sad. I mean, because honestly, she could use some help bringing back all those people. I mean, that's a big task. Even with
Mhm.
Issa's help, that's a huge task.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting that the magic or the world building is pretty hand wavy about these bodies, right? She needs teeth and other cool stuff, metal beads. She makes a necklace and then she gets a body.
And then, but she also has
That's
to
a big
tithe.
leap.
That was a part of it as
Yes.
well.
The
So
pain
necklace plus pain equal body. Like,
Yeah.
with teeth.
But I
Yes.
think
Specific teeth laid out
in
a
this
specific
setting,
way.
I think it's okay we didn't get the details because it's YA, and I don't know if they could stand all the little.
I'm glad that I don't have the details, but I'm just saying it's a pretty big leap from a necklace to a body, you know. So,
I mean, and honestly, if you need teeth, okay, so can you take teeth from anybody that you find that's already dead? Like
that's what I've been wondering. Like,
right.
why isn't she taking teeth from the bodies in the pit? Why does she have to go to why does she have to go to the Earth world to get teeth? That seems like a plot hole to me.
But you could only get so many as well. Even if you robbed every single museum in the world,
right?
Would you have enough teeth to raise 1,000 people plus the soldiers? Plus, I mean, I'd be like, if I'm going to use your soul, I might as well yank these teeth out of your mouth. Unless the teeth were specific to certain features. And that's why she could only use certain teeth. Like she wanted wings. So she had to find teeth that would get her wings. Maybe.
I feel like there's a really weird short story tie-in about the tooth fairy in this world building.
Well, those are baby teeth now, and baby teeth are very rare and very.
They don't use.
They don't use them. They only used. They used it for her.
Point in making baby bodies,
right? Right. He used it for her and only her. Apparently, you just don't go around making babies.
Not this way.
Yeah.
You just make babies the regular way.
Yeah. Exactly. And for their purposes, they don't want anybody. They want strong, grown, full-ass people that could go off and fight.
Yeah. They don't have 20 years to wait.
Right.
Mm-mm.
So that was, But I can see what you're
would
saying.
you like to go wake up as a baby? Like if you lived 20, 30
with your
years,
consciousness, no.
And then you died, and then you woke up as a baby?
No. You know what would happen? Have you guys seen the Umbrella Academy?
Well, but she didn't, right? I guess because he locked her memories away or something.
Right, but if you had your memories, you would be just like that kid in the Umbrella Academy that was almost 50 years old, but he was in this like 12-year-old body. Did you guys see that show?
I watched the first season. I haven't seen season 2
It was horrible for him. Like, you've got this 12-year-old body, but you're an old-ass man. You're a man. You remember everything.
Third Rock from the Sun was a little bit like that, if you remember that, but comedy, right?
Yeah.
So the kid in it was their commander and the oldest one, you know, but yeah, I don't know. That was sometimes funny.
Wasn't that, what's his name?
Joseph something.
Gordon-Levitt.
Yep,
Levitt?
that guy.
Levitt,
Yep.
Yes, him. I remember that.
Yep.
Okay.
So do you think, I would love to know, because, I think that Susanna is one of the best characters. I really like her. Why do you think that she was so, and I feel like it was kind of said, but like, was there extra motivation in what made her so determined to find Karoo? Like, I mean, you're going to drag your man and yourself across the world, through the desert, on a hunch that you might have a clue.
She's very romantic, right? She romanticizes everything. And so I think that, like, when Karoo sent off that cryptic email that didn't actually mean anything, or she didn't mean it to be like a
clue.
A clue. That Susanna assumed right away, like she's being held captive and she's sending out a message, and I mean,
she's never happy. She's never ever happy. She's like, I'm so happy.
I tell you that when I read that, I don't want to go in a cart, I immediately knew what that was. I'm such a Monty Python nerd. I knew exactly what that was from. I do feel like the modern cultural references are a little jarring, because there's just something about those scenes in Prague that don't feel like the real world to me. They feel like some alternate Earth. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can kind of get what you're saying. I mean, we have like these mythical creatures in the real world, quote unquote, and it doesn't feel like the real world. Like you have to, well, at least for me, I have to remind myself, oh, all the chimera are actually on Earth because it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like, it doesn't feel like it.
Well, I think maybe it's because it's in Prague, which I really loved when I read the first part of the first book, that it was something sort of different and it wasn't, New York City or Texas or some American place that I'm very familiar with or, can infer a lot of familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
But I think then when it left a little bit of a gap for me when we're supposed to feel like Zuzana is from our world, because it feels like it's still not quite like the big marionette thing. That's very weird, right? Like that's what she does for a living right now. Like
there are art students who aren't 18 and have nude models come in all the time. Like it's very Europe, not America.
Yeah. It feels I don't know, kind of Baroque or something. Just not quite.
It seems kind of fantastical anyway.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, you're in the real world, but like there's magic here kind of world, like a magical world already.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like urban fantasy in that respect. I don't know why. So I'm sure that a literary prof would come up with some theory about the symbolism of the marionette and who's really controlling it. And that's something to think about, I guess.
Which is funny because I would never classify this as urban fantasy, even though it's in the current world.
But it ticks all the boxes.
Well, I count it as fantasy. To me, it's fantasy, not urban fantasy, because the setting, while yes, it's 2000 whatever it was when they made this, 2012 or whatever, it's not like most of the stuff doesn't feel like that. It feels like you're somewhere else. It feels like you're off in this desert doing magical stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're not running the streets of Marrakesh every day. You're in this isolated place doing these crazy things, and it's like it just feels like fantasy to me. And you throw the angels in, and then you throw the other world in, and like the urban fantasy side that feels it's supposed to be ultra realistic and ultra real is gone for me. So
yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that that's why the pop culture references feel a little jarring to me, is because it doesn't feel like today's actual world that's parallel to Eretz.
Yeah, because Eretz is very old. It feels old. Everything there still feels old.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I could even feel like, when old boy said, "Bring me a woman." God. And they're like, "There's only soldiers here." He's like, "Well, they'll have to do." I'm like, "What the hell?" So, you go into this chamber, when Akiva goes to basically murder his sperm donor. Father. I feel like it. I don't call him father. He don't call him father. They don't call him father. Sperm donor. They go in there and it has this old school feel. I feel like it's like bath tubs and it feels like it's just not modern at all.
Yeah.
Well, that isn't like, that's very specifically in the other world.
Yeah.
So that definitely fits into the fantasy setting.
Yeah. It's got a Roman feel to it, being in the baths, I think. There's probably a Caesar et tu brute moment in there too. So
yeah, absolutely. Did you think that, speaking of that, like, while they were still in the real world, when Zuzana and Mick finally caught up with Karoo, they see all these monsters. And they're not like,
roll with it.
They roll with it. They're not even like, what the frickety frack is this? What have we rolled up on? They're kind of like, okay. And then after that, they take to that very good. And then Karoo's like, oh, I'm one of them. And she's like, okay, tell me what kind. What? And she's like, what?
Yeah. Like, of course you are.
Yeah.
Why else would you be here? Yeah. That was a fun scene.
It was fun, but
Zuzana knew a little bit about it, right? She had seen Akiva before, and she'd seen all those notebooks, and Carew had always told her that they're real, even though she told her that in a way that made her think they were fake. But once she saw Akiva, I think she was like, oh yeah, okay, all of this is real.
Well, I'm going to start posting, because I feel like you guys in the Facebook group, soon I'm going to start posting some fan art of some of these characters. Because to me, when you think in your mind what Akiva looks like, he looks like an angel. He's pretty. He's hard to look at. But then when you come with all these chimera that have hooves and wings and talons and things like that, to me as a normal person, even though I've seen an angel, this would not be something I would just be cool with right off the rip. These things look scary,
especially the ones at the Casbah, right? Because they're more monstrous than nature made them.
Yeah. So if you I'm going to start sharing some of these fan art. So I'd love to see what people if people think that this is what the characters look like, because I mean, I think it's easy for us to, like, in our brains think, oh, they're probably more humanoid anyway, or, I'm reading that aspect. Right, exactly. And it's like, but wait a minute, this is a whole animal body up right here at the bottom. And you're trying to do what to me? The fuck you are, okay? We couldn't know everything.
I grew up I just devoured Greek mythology when I was a kid, and I loved all that, and I loved all the mythical creatures that were half human and half animal, or more or a mix of more than two. And so like the centaurs and like all that, I don't automatically think monster when I think of a being like that. So I don't know. So
okay, well, they describe themselves self-proclaimed monsters.
Do they? I know she thinks of them that way, but I don't know if they think of them that way themselves that way.
Kind of did when Thiago was talking.
Beasts is what I remember them using more.
Yeah, beast. I mean, I don't know if what's that dude's crazy name? If Razgit came up to you, even though he's an angel, okay, he's an old ass decrepit angel, right? If he came up to you, I bet your ass will run screaming the other way.
Oh hell yes!
I'm sorry. I get it though. Maybe I'm the only one who finds them to be monsters, but they're nice monsters. Some of them, and some of them are not.
Some of them are pretty creepy, and even Carew was talking about how she made them even more monstrous than normal, and even like bigger and scarier, and
I mean, even thinking about 10, like even when her friend is in the body, she's like, okay, I have the urge to eat someone, and she's like, look, don't do that, okay, don't do it. And she's like, but if they ask, she's like, even if they ask you, don't do it.
Don't eat people. Just don't eat people.
Right. So it's like, they're dangerous. They are dangerous. But, Zuzana's like, hey, we're here to help. What's up? Let's have some fun. Let's make some bodies. Let's do some magic. And she's like, girl, you're in danger.
Zuzana becomes friends like instantaneously. They just go down to eat breakfast or whatever, and then everybody's laughing and teaching them new words and pantomiming chickens. Like,
I liked the effect of the violin playing. Like it made me wonder if when she wrote the book, she started out on purpose with a musician with that end in mind, or if she thought of it when they were at the Casbah and went back and reworked it, or I don't know. I think that's, or if it was like so clear to her that this person is a musician and Zuzana is an artist, and then she just used it when she came to that moment in the second book. I don't know. So I'm having a glance at some Thiago fan art, and most of it's pretty human looking.
Yeah, this one I saw, he was human down to like his knees basically, and then his knees started to change.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they had to do that because there's no way they would have somebody else looking trying to do that to poor Carew. I swear. Because that scene, I gotta say, that one scene was very dark. And if you guys haven't read the book, there is a scene where Thiago actually attacks Carew, and he is trying to rape her because he is mad that he thinks that she's a slut and he didn't get any. So he's very upset about it. And
stabs him.
She
with her
stabs him
little
in the
knife.
neck. Yes, in the neck.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't characterize the scene that way, but yeah. So he's had all of this pent up for a long time, and
well, he called her a slut. Basically, he called
well,
her.
I know, but it wasn't like but that's not, I don't think, what triggered it. What triggered it was her standing up to him and getting people come over to her side. And so now all that aggression is out in the open, right? He's always thought of her as a slut or a whore or whatever, but it wasn't like that was the thing that triggered the scene. That's all I'm saying.
No,
that's the root of it. Oh, it triggered was she finally stood up to him. He can't control
but
her
if it
anymore.
wasn't that though, okay, yeah, you're right. The trigger of the scene was him being showed out in front of his people. That was the trigger of the scene.
Then he killed.
But his motivation of trying to rape her was because if it was anybody else, he just would have killed them. He wouldn't have raped them.
Well, he can't kill her because
he would have yanked off somebody's arm. He would have beat them up like he did Akiva. Yeah. He wouldn't have tried. He is not a rapist by nature. He don't go around raping people, asking for women, all this other stuff.
We don't know that.
His character. Some of the angel side, they just, but him, I don't think that if it was anybody else but Carew in the same position with the same job, he wouldn't have tried to rape them.
Well, it's a power play, like rape always is.
It's definitely. It's because she slept with the angel instead of him while he was wooing her back in her past life. It's why he had her decapitated the first time.
Absolutely.
He was never allowed to be alone with her.
Yeah, absolutely. But if she had never fallen in love with someone else and had only just told him no, he would have had the same reaction, I think. Because he wants to possess her.
Told him no.
So
maybe not. Maybe not. But I think the point is that he wants to control her, and
absolutely, yes.
That's his plan of attack.
Well, I mean, he's been trying to control her from day one by lying to her, making her think everyone was against him. He was manipulating her the minute he found her.
Right.
Oh, hell yes.
So the gloves come off when she stands up to him and asks him what is his end game, and she gets a few people on her side, and the gloves come
kills
off.
Them.
Yep.
And honestly, I do feel like he was so enraged. I feel like he could have killed her. I think that if she wasn't able to stab him and something, I mean, if that tussle continued, he could have broke her neck or something crazy. And he would think about it later like, damn, I fucked up. That's, I guess we'll have to bring her back in another body or somebody can figure it out.
But they can't. But they can't.
But that was the whole reason why he was trying to get 10 to hang around and learn.
Yeah.
He didn't want her around. He didn't, even though she thought that, because she said it herself while he was attacking her. She said, "You need me. You're not going to do this to me. You need me." And he fucking didn't want to need her. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Maybe he was hoping Ten and Issa knew enough.
Yeah. Well, Issa knows what to do. But that's why 10 tried to get Issa, but that went wrong.
Yep.
10 tried to get her?
Yeah, because remember, Issa killed him. Issa killed the body of 10. Because when she opened the door to go after Carew, 10 was there. And later we figure out how 10 died, is that Issa she killed her.
One of her snakes bit her.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
I remember that. I just didn't, I don't know, it was off page, so I didn't pay that much attention to it.
Yeah.
So...
But yeah, I mean, between Issa, I mean, he could probably have forced Issa to do it, especially if he said bring her back. Of course, Issa would bring her back. She would bring her back.
But not everybody has an affinity for magic. I don't think Issa could do that.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, that was kind of unclear. It didn't.
If she could have, wouldn't she have helped Brimstone more? Brimstone did all of that
because he wanted to. I feel like, if I remember correctly from book 1, it's not that he didn't even want Carew in her previous, like, as Madrigal helping him, really. She had to beg and beg and beg and beg and beg. He didn't want help. This is his thing. You know what I'm saying? So even if Issa had the ability, he wouldn't let her use it because that was his job. So I don't think that necessarily means she couldn't. just because she didn't?
I guess from the way I read it, I would not assume that Issa had the ability to create a body.
I know she can at least string the teeth on the necklace, but I don't know if she has. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, she did have that because she said now that Issa's here, it's going to go a lot quicker. She already knows what to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
maybe you guys are right.
I don't know. I guess let us know what you guys think. I mean, because we obviously think a little different. So what did you read? What'd you get out of it? Okay. So before we get too far, I think this is a great time to take a quick break for our sponsors. And when we return, we will finish up our conversation and we will give our ratings and talk about whatever else we end up talking about. So stay with us. Today's episode is sponsored in part by audiobooks.com. Audiobooks.com now has 175,000 titles and 1.2 million podcasts. New customers get 3 free audiobooks comprised of 1 premium credit and 2 VIP titles. Use our promo code Shelf Addiction, spelled as one word, when you sign up at audiobooks.com. Again, our promo code is Shelf Addiction.
Keep all your entertainment options centered with Xfinity X1. Access live TV, Netflix, and now Hulu and Peacock. Streaming zen. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go online or call 1-800-XFINITY today. Restrictions apply. Netflix, Hulu, and Peacock memberships required.
Rule the day the plant-based way with the new vegan mixed berry from Smoothie King. Powered by whole, non-GMO fruits, oat milk, and vegan protein, it's a dairy-free, plant-based smoothie you can feel great about. With 13 grams of protein and half your daily fiber, it's an easy way to get the essential nutrients your body craves. Skip the line and order online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King. Rule the day.
Okay, we're back. Thanks for listening to words from our sponsors. You guys don't forget to click the links in the show notes if you want to help support the show. So I think we talked a lot about, Karu's side of things, but I think it would be cool to talk a little bit about Akiva's side because he had a lot of time on the page. We got a lot of time with the angels and to see what goes on in their camp. So what did you guys think about like Joram and the Misbegotten and all that?
Before we get into that, I want to talk about the fact that for the first 10 chapters of the book, everybody thought Karu was dead, and Akiva was just this giant ball of depression. Because he's like, oh shit, I fucked up so bad. And it was just so heartbreaking to see that. Like his arc of hope and love and loss, and then even more loss from the end of book 1 into this book, and then seeing that swing back up into hope, and then when they keep meeting and it's just not working out at all the way he wants it to, ever. He just wants to be in love, and she's rejecting him at every turn for valid reasons. I'm not.
Well, I think what they learn in this book is that if they're going to effect a change in their world, it has to be for bigger reasons than just that they love each other, right? Oh, they have to figure out what kind of world they really want to live in and what they want their people to be able to live in, and that goes beyond the two of them. So I liked that. I thought it took him a long time to kind of come back to the value system we thought he had in the first book. Yeah.
And they both, I think, by the end of the book kind of understand that, because when they saw each other again, it was like, yeah, the sparks, she's talking about how her hot and cold, and she's like, ooh, she's feeling she still likes him. She still is in love with him. But it's not about us. It's bigger than us. And they both get it, I like that Issa kind of helped clarify things. Like they both have this confidant, right? So Issa is kind of like wise and maternal, and
Liraz is the opposite of that, but still is a reflection for Akiva to think about, what the purpose of their resistance is.
Yeah, and Hazael, I think his name's Hazael. Yeah, he helped with that as well. And of course, it's like we can't let his death be for nothing.
Yeah.
So
that was sad. That was
that was more sad to me than him thinking that she was dead, because we know she's not dead. Maybe it would affect me more if we thought she was dead too.
Right.
But we knew she wasn't. So, I'm like, well, I think his brother dying had an even bigger effect.
Yeah, no, that was a bigger effect. But
they were interesting characters. They've been kind of around the edges of things since book one, and you kind of don't know whose side they're on, and you don't know whether they can totally be trusted. And I liked in this book that they kind of solidified that. And it's not shocking that in the story Hazael had to die, right? Because Akiva needed sort of a symmetric tragedy to
he needed something to fight for again,
right, to Karuz.
Yeah.
And it's harder because they were raised to not care about anybody, right? They're raised to think of themselves as disposable weapons and not develop connections. So it was kind of hard to, I could see how, within the story, it's hard to show his loss, show loss for him other than Karoo.
Well, I feel like that the fact that Liraz and, Hazael kind of just did show that they supported him, that was a lot for them, because they were, to fight against your nature, their nature was to kill and make a mark and show pride about what you've done. And to just throw it out the window off the whim of Akiva because he fell in love with some chick. Looking at it from that standpoint, that's a huge thing for Liraz, especially, to kind of say, okay, I'm going to help you with this.
I don't think it was just that, though, right? So now that the city of the city of soldiers was crushed, right, by the angels, and now they're on this mission to just wreck the countryside. I think that the scene where they were chasing the sheep people affected her, right? Because she was talking, there was the soldiers that were making the marks for the civilians, and she was like, you don't put marks for that, and I'll kill you if you do. And I don't think that was just because of Akiva's situation. I think she felt the wrongness of that.
And it's hard to say. To me, I kind of feel like, is it the cart before the horse, or, the chicken or the egg kind of thing? Has she always felt that way and she didn't know it? Or did Akiva flip the switch and she started thinking about things differently?
I think maybe it was the latter, but I also think that the killing civilians is a lot different than killing soldiers.
Oh, definitely.
And that's where we went in this book.
And it is when your feelings are turned on. But if you're operating the way that the Seraphim were supposed to be operating, you don't even think about that. Just like the other soldiers that were doing it, they weren't thinking about that.
But not all of them were. And she brought that out a couple of times, that, there were some that were always in it for the blood, and they had that on both sides. And then there were some that, had regrets and had a conscience about it.
True.
I mean, that came out in this book. It wasn't there the whole time. So
yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that Liraz I could give her credit for that, but I don't know. I feel like
I don't know.
She was very anti everything Akiva was saying. She was not like, oh, let me think about it. She was anti.
True.
So I don't know.
I don't know either.
But on the flip side, Hazael was like, well, hold on. Let's just hear him out. Let's hear what he has to say,
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Hazael, you knew earlier on that he was going to be an ally, right? he was with Akiva when they let the people go, or they let some of the Chimera go, and conspired to not see them.
Mm-hmm.
But it did develop in this book, right? Because in the first book, all you knew was that they saw him with Carew, and they didn't understand it, and they were angry about it. But they didn't kill him.
Kill her.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to kill her, but he got between them.
Yep.
Which was a shocker, if anything. They're like, "What? Excuse me? What you gonna fight me over this girl? What? Are you crazy?" So yes, definitely for Lara, she was definitely put out by all of that. She was like,
yeah. I think this book went from black and white to okay, there's shades of gray. That's I feel, if that expression isn't completely ruined now, but
but it's true though. Like on both sides, no one's absolutely good and absolutely bad, with the exception of a handful of people at the top that are absolutely bad on both sides.
I did like how the two stories kind of built together and both came to a crux at a similar moment. I liked the symmetry of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually cool. And that was in the scenes where I think isn't that when Akiva killed Joram?
Yep.
And then
the sperm donor.
Yeah, and then Carew was fighting with Iago.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so you end the book with a new enemy who seems like he might be worse than the old enemy.
Yeah, Joram's brother, so it's his uncle.
Yep. On the Chimera side, there's not like dissension in the ranks, but there's a very small number.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have the new ally in the distance, right? The Stylian.
Oh yeah,
are they
Group.
allies?
We don't know.
We don't know yet. They're out there, but I feel like there was a little bit said about them when what happened. What scene was that? I can't remember.
So that was
the fruit basket scene.
Yeah, the fruit basket scene.
Mm-hmm.
So and then when Akiva did his weird scream and shattered the city, they noticed it on the other side of the world, right? And they started heading toward. They sent out an envoy they sent some representatives to go see what's going on. I can't remember if it was a bunch of people or how they for a patrol or something.
Well, to me, that totally sets up. Be prepared for even more characters.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, I mean,
there are a lot of characters.
Armageddon,
in this book.
Right?
Yeah. So. I mean, this definitely the lens is getting wider and wider with the supporting characters. It's a lot of names. They're all unusual names. It's a lot of names, a lot of things going on. But I like it. I'm here for it. I found it. I don't know. I have no problems with it. And I was really, actually, I want to go back because I kind of skipped ahead, but I really like the scene where Akiva killed his sperm donor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, damn, he got tricked. So he's like, I did the deed that I wanted to do anyway, but it also helped you. So he was like,
yeah,
that whole thing was, it was kind of like lackluster. Like I did it. Yeah. He killed him, but it was like, damn, like you just helped somebody else.
I did like the writing in that scene. I liked the clarity, there was a word for it that, like some kind of trance that came over him that enabled him to, just get everything done. But at the same time, he missed the fact that Jael was leaving. So, or it would just happen too fast. I don't know. But I did like the way that was written. I did like the setup for this ability that he has that he doesn't understand. That it appears comes from his mother's heritage, who, by the way, made the scar on the bad guy. So I like that. I like that.
I loved his mother's name too. Festival. I just like that's the best. she seemed like she was also very something, like even though she was seraphim or whatever, she was very not like the rest. She stood out.
Well, no, she's
Stylia
from the island.
So she is a race. She is Stylian, but she is classified as a seraphim or seraph.
Yes.
Just like how we have the monster classification of
the different tribes
of Chimera, but then they have races under that, like Kieran.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you remember in the first book, they talked about the seraphim used to have magi, and that's how they built the city. So I'm thinking that the Stylia probably have more of that ability or something similar to it.
Yeah.
More of the magic.
Yeah, I mean, because there's this wiki that I can post in the show notes if you guys are curious. And it does break it down really nicely for all the characters. It shows their classification, which is seraph or chimera. Then it shows their race, which is like Stellian or Kieran or whatever. So it really breaks it up very nicely.
What are the other ones?
I'd have to click on each character. Hold on, let me see. Let's see if I click on Chimera, if it'll just show me all the classifications.
But I mean, what are the other seraphim? What are like Hazael and
hold on, let's see.
And Joram. Jor-El is Superman. Sorry.
Who are you looking for specifically? I need to click on them.
So what is the subgroup of seraphim that are not Stylian?
I don't know. Hold on, let me look. I have to click on.
I mean, that's something we could go look up later. We don't need to do it here.
I mean, it can't take but a second. And of course, I can always cut it out if it's too long. Okay. He was among the 12 selected, society, language. They don't have them all listed. So maybe we don't have all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not all listed on here. So I guess maybe we'll be introduced to maybe some more. I don't know. I don't really remember more, but we know just based on Caru's explanation of the Chimera, we know there are several races of Chimera. We don't know how many, but we know there are more races.
Yeah, lots.
So I'm thinking it's the same for the Seraph. It's many races of them as well.
Maybe.
So
probably.
Because to point out that she was, of a specific race from a specific island tells me there's got to be more than just that.
Yeah.
And if not, that doesn't make sense to even point it out. If they're all one, why point her out as special if she's still classified as a seraph, if she's still an angel?
Well, they're going to go fight them, or they're going to come do whatever. There's the whole fruit basket scene. There's the whole, once we destroy all the beasts, we're going to need a new war. Let's go fight these people. We'll take them over.
Well, they fight the enemy first, and then they fight each other, so that they think they're the master race or whatever. I don't know, whatever. It sounds like some racist stuff to me. But what are you gonna do? I don't know. But that is another aspect to me that makes this fantasy versus urban fantasy. It's like it's so in depth. It's so many layers of people, of types of the beings or whatever. I just don't, in my mind, I just don't classify that as urban fantasy at all. I think urban fantasy is like vampires and werewolves.
I think of urban fantasy as taking place in the modern day, with another layer of magic on top of it.
But do we ever we've read our fair share of urban fantasy. Does urban fantasy, in your opinion, from what you've read, at least not from me, but does it go this deep? Like, do you feel like we get this much information and new races and new this and that? And I mean, it just seems like it doesn't.
Yeah, but it's usually in the same world, right? Yeah. It's not usually in an alternate world. So, I mean, Kim Harrison's got lots of details about all her paranormal races.
Oh.
And our favorite, Mercy Thompson, yes.
Well, yes, true. But you know what? It doesn't always. She's been to that other world, whatever it's called.
The Fae world.
Yeah, the Fae world. But, okay, That's off topic. Okay.
You're losing this argument, Tamara, but that's okay.
It's fine. It's fine, y'all.
Debate, not an argument.
It's fine. Okay. So what else?
It does feel like high fantasy. I think because there's not guns, and although it looks like there might be in the next book, but yeah. Anyway.
Okay. So what else should we talk about? Anything else that you guys want to cover?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered most of it. It was...
Yeah, I'm thinking of, I think we've hit all the things that I really did like the structure of it. It felt a little slow to me, maybe because it's 500 and some pages, but yeah, it was, I mean, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like the end. I mean, even though,
I did like the end.
You know, they said goodbye to each other. They're like, oh, snap, we're too late. Oh, no. And, of course, Akiva's right there to kind of help, you know, they try to bring them together. Mm-hmm. And they're like, even though they're together still fighting the same enemy, they're still fighting each other. Because they talk about the Seraphim, like, in there trying to put their hamsas, you know, the one people trying to put their hamsas through the wall, the other people trying to, like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I was really surprised in the bath scene where the jail's guard came in and the hamsas were still working even though the hands were dead. Like, that really was weird to me.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Magic?
Magic.
But, yeah. Okay. I thought that was weird.
It's kind of, I get it. If you're dead, it should just be... What is it powered by?
Is your soul still in the hands? Is that what's powering it? Is it something else? Is it what is happening?
Yeah, I thought that was strange.
Well, I don't know. Magic. Well, just magic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and rate Days of Blood and Starlight. Who would like to go first? Not me. I want to hear what y'all guys say first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I give it 4 stars. It's a great installment in this series. It's very emotional. It is very symmetrical with both stories being built up at once. There are a couple of issues with timelines and, you know, magic ? Sure, that'll explain everything. But otherwise, it's a great story. Mm-hmm. So,
I'm stuck between a 3 and a 4. I think that if you like YA fantasy, you're gonna like this. So I always feel like it's not fair to hold something against a book that is sort of the book's nature. For for me and my enjoyment of it, it's probably somewhere around a 3. But I think it's a good example of the genre. I think it's a good story. I don't have any beef with it particularly, other than it felt slow to me, and I've gotten used to like a quicker pacing, which I like a little better. The fact that it's YA, I don't really miss the sexual tension. I mean, that the stuff that would make it non-YA, I don't see that that's missing from it. I just feel like some of the stuff that's glossed over, I would like to see. I'm interested in, and and just kind of slow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. One of the quotes I liked is Brimstone once told me that to stay true in the face of evil is a feat of strength. I like that. Yeah. And I liked a lot of stuff about this book. I like the characters. I love the descriptive, vivid picture I got of the scenery of the worlds. I liked the villains are villains. I don't have to feel bad for a villain. I hate that shit. Bad is bad. But I also liked the shades of gray.
See, I like a more complicated villain, I think.
Okay. I like that. I don't know. I really liked how both Akiva and Karoo stood on their own in separate stories. I liked them both. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to be in the same space at the same time for me to enjoy both storylines. So there was a lot I liked about the book. And I do feel like there was a little extra fluff somewhere that could have been shaved. to cut down the time or, listening time or reading time a little bit. There was definitely a little bit that could have been shaved, but I can't point out specifically this part should have been taken out because it was wasteful.
Right. I would agree with that.
Yeah. But I overall enjoyed it. I really don't have many complaints other than that. So I think last time I definitely rated it a 5, but this time, because you guys know I always compare, this time I will go with a 4. Only because it was a lot. It was long and it was a lot. And I enjoyed a lot of it, like I just said, but it was hot. It's heavy, it's long, and it's definitely not something you can just say, oh, that's a book club this weekend. Let me just read it.
Yeah.
I paced myself with this. I definitely did. So definitely it earned a 4-star out of 5.
Yeah, I think it was like really dark, and I had trouble with that right now too. So that's sort of the mood and the environment I'm in, and like I'm liking things that are a little bit more uplifting, more upbeat, more light, more quick and easy. So this, in a different moment, I might like it more.
Okay. And that's fair, totally, because this is kind of dark when you think about it. But and you could actually draw some lines to the real world, even then and now and all of that, if you really wanted to. But let's not do that, because we don't have any alcohol to compensate for that.
I wanted to ask you guys, maybe this is for later, but I wanted to ask you guys, when you think of angels, what do you think of the opposite of an angel? Because it's not chimera for me.
No. But personally, I watch too much Supernatural, and I think angels are dicks. So,
honestly, I think the opposite of angel is an angel, just a bad one, like a fallen angel. I think it's just equally, like Lucifer. Okay, like maybe I watch too much Lucifer. Okay, he's fine as hell, but he's evil. Really? I mean, that's what I think. I don't think they look like monsters necessarily. I don't know. Maybe if you spend too much time in hell, you might look like a monster.
So I just thought that was an interesting choice. Like it could have been chimera and something else, right? Why angels?
Yeah, I mean, chimera could have fought with something else, but I guess the chimera. Well, the angels have like this this godly, ethereal look,
religious association.
Yeah.
Also, they have wings, so they're better warriors, and I'm using air quotes here for everybody who can't see me, because they had all the aerial attacks before Karoo put wings on her soldiers. So that was the biggest difference up to this point, was that
maybe we can talk about it more in the third book, because I'm assuming that the fact that they're angels plays into how it interacts on Earth. So
definitely.
But
definitely it's intended. That is what
but if I were going to write a angels or the bad guys kind of story, I don't know that I would have picked something like chimera as the opposition. I mean, the standard go-to is demons, right? Or maybe,
and demons can look any kind of way. In all the books I've read, demons can appear any kind of way. They don't necessarily have to look like,
or even mortals as the enemy, or vampires. I've read those too. So
I've read where vampires are like demons from hell.
It's a different take. So I'm looking forward to sort of seeing how that develops. But I thought that was, structurally not what I would expect.
That's an interesting choice. I agree. It's not an obvious choice. That's for sure. I don't know. We'll have to ask the author one day. Maybe she'll join us one day and tell us her thoughts behind that. I don't know. Anyway. All right, guys. I think that's it for today. What do you ladies think?
I think so. Right.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us for this chat. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And as always, you can find us in the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official if you'd like to share your thoughts with us there, or you can find us on social media. And until next time, we will catch you guys next month. And happy reading. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's book chat episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy all things bookish, including author interviews. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.
Rule the day the plant-based way with the new vegan mixed berry from Smoothie King. Powered by whole, non-GMO fruits, oat milk, and vegan protein, it's a dairy-free, plant-based smoothie you can feel great about. With 13 grams of protein and half your daily fiber, it's an easy way to get the essential nutrients your body craves. Skip the line and order online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King. Rule the day. Rule the day the plant-based way with the new vegan mixed berry from Smoothie King. Powered by whole, non-GMO fruits, oat milk, and vegan protein, it's a dairy-free, plant-based smoothie you can feel great about. With 13 grams of protein and half your daily fiber, it's an easy way to get the essential nutrients your body craves. Skip the line and order online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King. Rule the day.